is back with another Baby Dude interview. Today I have literally one of my all-time favorite athletes, people. He's top 10 in Top Fuel wins in the NHRA. He's a dad, and he did all this stuff while being a dad. Today I have Cory Mac, man. This is awesome. Cory, what's up, man?
Not much, Jeff. This is a long time coming for you and me, I think.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for joining me. Just so everybody knows, Cory Mac I've been a drag racing fan my entire life, going with my dad and my whole family. And when you look at athletes and people you look up to, the Michael Jordans, I'm from Minnesota, so the Chris Carters and Randy Moss and all these guys, Cory Mac is up there with those guys for me. Like, this is like a huge one for me. This is the best. So thank you for joining me. This is like a treat. For
Well,
real.
this is, you know what, since I semi-retired and got back kind of doing other stuff, and I'm looking to see what I'm going to do next, these are like the perfect kind of interviews. I can just be myself. That's all.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. That's what we want, Cory. Just the real Cory right here.
Yeah, no sponsor stuff.
Right.
Well, I do have my Fatheads shirt on.
That-
I do wear their glasses. So I think you one plug, but that's it.
We'll let that one slide. Yeah, let it go. Let it go. And you got your best car behind you right there, the Mac Attack that we all fell in love with that you drove, and just awesome. So today we're going to talk about you as a dad, like growing up watching you race. You have a daughter. I want to know, like, doing these interviews, I talk to all these dads that have these grueling jobs or extreme jobs or things like that. How did you balance dad and full-time Top Fuel NHRA driver?
Whew. You know, it was hard, actually. Courtney's mom and I were not together when Courtney was born. And obviously, you know, I was on the road mega. I mean, we're running 24 races a year. When I could take her with me, it'd just be me and her. We'd travel. And I'd have one of those deals where you put the baby in the front, you know? So picture Phoenix, let's say. You're walking through the Top Fuel pits and, hey, how you doing? How's it going, guys? You know, and this baby is sitting here. Everybody's looking at me like, what are you doing? You know? So in between rounds back then, when my parents would want to go to the starting line, I would go over to Cheryl Bernstein, and Kenny'd see me walking in there. He's like, I can't believe you're doing this. You're going to make her want one of these things. And I walk in there and Cheryl would be, come on, let's go. I'll take her. And then there was times where back then it was Winston. So remember the Winston area, everybody go into and hang out. So I would get to know some of the Winston girls, and they would take her in between rounds and stuff and for qualifying. So Courtney got to live kind of a cool little life, even though she didn't know it was happening at the time. So at nighttime, we'd get a king size bed. I'd have like all my tuna sandwiches made, you know, in a cooler with her milk and everything else. And I'm not kidding either. This happened 5 or 6 times probably. Get back completely dirty. So I would roll up the sheets on the bottom, the sides. I'd take all the pillows, line them along, and I'd get her where she was just kind of nodding off. And I'd run and get in the shower. And then you know how it is. You're like getting ready, kind of, you jump out, take a look, and she's still in the same spot. And then I'd be able to finish. And then we'd sit down together and eat and just kind of chill out. I mean, I think it kind of calmed me down. You know, before that, you'd be going out dinner with your buddies and having a couple drinks and, you know, getting ready for the next day. But not when Courtney came. When Courtney came, and I've told this, I probably told you this because I've told every single person I know that was having their first baby that I don't care what your life is like right now. Tomorrow, when you're holding that baby, everything changes. And
Yeah.
in that second, I'm sure you agree with me on it. So.
Oh, absolutely. And like, it's cool that you mentioned the carrier because I have a 10-month-old. Like, if he can't sleep, that's what I do. I throw him in that thing, go for a walk, and like, that thing's the best. That's just like such a cool time, that those memories that you'll always have of Oh my God, I need to go race a 300-mile-per-hour car real quick. Can someone hold the baby? Like
I know.
that's
I
crazy. That's
know.
that's so amazing.
It was so fun to do back then. And, when I got started, my true love of just driving dragsters was, more than anything else, let alone start going rounds and, qualifying and going around and then finally winning one. It was like, oh my gosh. So our deal was she would stay with her mother. And then when we get to the swing, she'd go with me in the motorhome. So here we are going to a race, whether it was, I think back then it was Sonoma, Seattle, and then Sonoma, Seattle. Where else did we go for the swing?
Did they hit what? Colorado? Denver?
Denver. There
Was
you
that
go.
part of that?
So it was Denver first. Denver, Sonoma, Seattle type thing. And I would take her. So we were in a motorhome. We'd get done on Sunday, no matter win, lose, or draw, and jump in the motorhome. She'd go back in the back, turn the generator on, get one of her movies going. She's set for a couple hours. So
Awesome.
I start making my way down the road because we got to be somewhere in like a day and a half. So we did a lot of that, and she I think that was her biggest kind of eyes wide open as far as being in crowds and people. And even back then I was very protective. Like, if anybody comes and says they're coming to get you, for me, that's not true. I literally will not send anybody to get you from somebody, ever, ever, ever. So don't. And it's just, you don't want to have something go wrong. I mean, I'm just a very protective father then, and I think I'm more so now, because the world has changed as we know it. And I never thought that we'd be living in times like this. When I saw you as a young man or me as an older person, I never thought we'd have something like this happen. So, things have changed, but that was kind of our thing. But to be on the road with her, and we're, cooking steaks and she's eating whatever she wants, and which was mostly McDonald's hamburgers, especially when I drove the McDonald's car. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, free ticket. Boom. Let's get some burgers for sure.
that's exactly it. So we really had fun, and it was a good father-daughter moments to have her there. And I think I won the showdown, the Winston Showdown in Bristol. That was 200K, and John Force won the first one. I won the second one, and Courtney was there for that one. So lots of pictures with her up in there, little towhead blonde kid. Is just, I look at her now and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I see where her attitude came from. It definitely, she's got that kind of that quick wick where it all of a sudden turns into somebody else, and I see myself in a mirror every time I do that.
So it's yeah, when your kids do something that resembles you, it's just like, wait, what? It's so weird. It's just a weird situation. Did she get into the races? Like, I always like to ask athletes and people that compete, like, you see the Forest girls, they all drove this and that. Did she ever get that kind of itch, or is it something she's like, I ain't doing this? Like,
you know what? I always told myself I was not going to force her into anything.
mm-hmm.
But we had a junior dragster built for her by the time she was 4. and it just sat there. I had Brad Hadman build it, same paint job as the Mac Attack, the whole thing. So I was kind of one of those things. We put her in it a lot. She never drove it.
Get out of here.
Matter of fact, Chris McNichol was working with me. So I had his daughter, Mandy, come the racetrack, and she raced it. So it definitely got some race time, and then I sold it to Dick LaHaye after that. But Courtney never had an interest in going fast. She loved going to the drag races, and that's her favorite thing in the world. But did not want to do it herself, just wanted to be with Dad and to be able to cruise around. And she's friends with Megan and all the girls, so she'd be at Schumacher's or over here. And it actually was a really good way for her to learn some life lessons, I think. instead of just being at home all the time, school and home type thing.
For
So
sure. And like going to the races my whole life, obviously I didn't drive anything, but yeah, the social aspect of the races, it's just fun to be out there. Like it's just a fun, I can't wait to take my boys just to go out and like look at the fast cars, watch them go. Like NHRA is great with accessibility and things like that. Like it's just a fun place. So I can totally see her liking that aspect of it for sure.
definitely, definitely.
And I guess another question, I've interviewed a few drag racers. I've never asked this question. Corey, you've been in some pretty solid wrecks. Does that change once you have your daughter? Like, is it a different outlook? Because that's scary, right? Like, I look at my sons and I see, like, me and my wife will talk about skydiving. I'm like, that scares the hell out of me. I don't want something to happen. Like, if I'm gone, then these boys don't have me. So, like, what's the mind frame of a drag racer who has been in bad crashes about, like, having kids? And is it just kind of like, that's part of your job? Or, like, how does that kind of go through your brain?
It's part of it. I Earlier in my years when after she was born and now we were solidly in Top Fuel, I always had a picture of her in the car and always rubbed it before I went up to stage. Always, always, always. So in Rockingham, that was my first big accident. The wing broke. I was racing Scott Coletta. It turned over on its backside, and we had a full can of oil. Back then, you could have like a dry sump to keep the motor living longer. Well, that thing was behind one of the kickouts, and it poured into the cockpit when I went over. So the fire started, wouldn't go out. They'd put me out, it'd light back up, all that kind of stuff. You start going through all this, and I was out for 10 weeks. That, Jeff, was the first time that I realized that I have a lot more to live for, and also the respect for the race car. So I spent the next 10 weeks sitting on the couch. I got pictures of Courtney. I'm wrapped up. I got wraps all around here where I'm burnt, and I got her laying on my chest sleeping. So she's, obviously then it became a priority. So just driving correct and not over driving the race car, that is where I think I've done the best. It's just a repetition type thing. You can always come back and make another pass. And on Sunday, or if you're not in the deal, yeah, you're going to drive over your head because you don't want to lose, that type of deal. But I do it with thousands of passes behind me, and smart. If it gets too crazy, shut it off. We lose, we'll come back next week and we'll get them, that type of deal. But yeah, as a father, it changed quite a bit for me as far as she came first all the time. If she wasn't safe or she wasn't happy, I have to make sure she's okay first.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like you said, you had so much experience that goes into that, and you're right. I see some of the young kids race now on TV. I think one that comes to mind is the Salinas girl. She drives the alcohol. She was on a pass and she just stuck it and blew it over. When really, why? And that's just like one of those like experience things. That's her lesson, I'm sure. But live to fight another day. And yeah, you have so many passes in you. But Corey, are you done having passes in you? What's the word there? I was so excited when you came back with your couple races there with your Mac Attack looking car, and it was so cool to see you back out there. I feel like right at the end you guys started to click it a little bit.
We did. We finally figured out what the problem was, and she was ready to start running in the 60s.
Oh, God.
That last pass with Sean, I knew there's two things that you got to remember on the Sardine nowadays. We try not to take a big chunk out of it because it cheats your crew chief out of a better ET, let's say. But at the same time, there are some drivers that you're not going to be able to leave with. So you take that chunk. John Forrest, for example, does it every single time during competition, on competition days. So with Sean, I usually get up for Sean because Sean is an awesome lever. He's schooled me more than I can tell you, but the shoe has been on the other foot as well. So we were both ready. I wanted the light stage because I wanted the car to start showing what it's really capable of. And I think he had a 69 to my 86. So, he ran 72. I ran 73 at 330. I mean, it was really starting to truck and didn't hurt a piston, ring, nothing. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So the Okahara boys and everybody working at Dawn, they still got their stuff together, and they knew exactly what to do when it's me driving the race car. So it was fun doing that. It was a lot of fun working with Leah, and she had just started seeing Tony at the time. So Tony and I got to hook back up and talk about being teammates and the Joe Gibbs days and stuff. But
that's right. That's right. I
we
totally.
have a lot of history behind us.
Yeah, that's cool. But that didn't answer my question, Corey.
Yeah, what I can tell you is never say you're going to retire.
Right.
Because you will eat those words.
Sure.
And since then, I got back into Dawn's car. I raced that. I haven't raced any other dragsters, but I still drive Larry Miner's sand car. He's got that
cool.
big blown. It's got a Brad Anderson fat head in it. It's a Jeep for the sand. So I still drive that. That is still one of the craziest things to drive.
Where do you race that at?
Saboba over here, right by the Saboba Casino. There's another one in Victorville. They're all pretty local, unless they do like a big race. Then Larry will travel to that, and he'll want to enter the car in it. So it's something that no one's ever had. He's built Jeeps all his life and sold them, but they're big blocks or this or that, but never a 3,000 horsepower type.
I need to come check that out, man.
Oh, you would love it. It is craziness, let me tell you. But this year, I have stepped back and said, I'm going to get all my operations out of the way. I had some cancer in my back. Took care of that. And then I got the coronavirus. Oh. That set me way back. I was in bed for a month.
Wow.
And this is kind of in that mode of them not really knowing what coronavirus was yet. So they really couldn't give you anything for it. But that took me back. It set me way back. I mean, if you saw me right now, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I mean, where's his muscle at? It's everything. I'll tell you just like it is. I'm half the man I was in end of 2019.
It's crazy.
It was tough to go drive last year after having COVID in 2019. The off-road truck, same thing. I mean, it's there. They have great shocks, everything else. But I just physically, it just wear me out. I couldn't do it. So even after one pass in a dragster, the same way. So this year, I'm not racing anything. No matter what comes up, I'm going to take my time. I've got some heart issues, so I'm trying to figure out if that was coming or if that was part of the coronavirus. I've had both my shots because they said basically if you don't get your shots, you're not going to start getting better, because we've learned kind of over the time here that these shots actually go right to where you have COVID and start working on killing that. It is what it is. I mean, they had to come out with some kind of shot to fix us and get us back on track. I know a lot of people aren't full believers, but I did it because he said it would help fix me. And so I was on a whole different train at that point. So now I've had my second shot last week. Nothing happened. Didn't get sick. Didn't really have anything. I had a headache, but other than that, I feel so much better today. Been out with a couple miles with the dog, doing my own thing, lifting weights again. It's like, okay, I can see this. I know I'm 58 years old. I'm never going to be that somewhat of a stud that I hoped that I was back then. But it's still important to me to be in good physical shape. So if I do put something together, I will definitely get in it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, you definitely have to take, I mean, I didn't know you had all that stuff going on. Like you have to take care of yourself. I mean, that's number one, right? That's the most important. And COVID, yeah, it's real.
It's
I
real.
lost my grandma to COVID.
It's
Like,
really. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
I mean, she was older, but she hadn't been sick in years. She was in her 80s in a nursing home, and it just traveled through that home in 3 days. Like
That was
it's
something.
crazy. So I've actually, because I work at a school, I've got my COVID shots as well, just because I'm around so many other older people that I don't want to be the reason that they
That
get
they
sick.
get
So
sick.
it's just, there's many reasons behind why you should or shouldn't, and without getting too political and all this mess, but
Well,
just,
that's a hard part because I do have friends that don't believe in any of this.
right.
Don't believe in wearing a mask. It's just a big inconvenience, and I don't argue with them about it.
There's no point. I mean, yeah, I
It's
agree.
like me trying to be political. I say it like it is. If I
Yep.
like you, I like you. If I don't like you, you're gonna know
There it is.
it.
There it is. Exactly. Um, Corey, I do, like I said, I appreciate you so much for popping on here. It's really cool to hear the stories of you and your daughter, the late nights in the hotel room, driving from track to track, the stuff the fans don't get to see. Like they turn on, I think at that time, what, TNN or whatever was the races were on at that time, and say, hey, look at this dude. He drives super fast. But the stories behind is why I do this. Like I
Yeah.
love to hear the football players, how they train to be a pro athlete while having 3 kids, or how you drive a badass top fuel dragster while having a daughter at the track. Like that's the coolest stuff is bringing it to other drivers' wives like Kenny Bernstein and then the Winston girls. It's just a
You
good
know what?
stories, man. I appreciate it.
It's definitely a good way to meet girls
I,
when you have a kid. And I was single, so it was like, yay, But you know how it is. Everybody dotes over babies. They love them. It's like having a puppy with you.
it
You know,
really is. Except nobody wants to be around them at nighttime. Nobody. Like I have a 10-month-old over here, man alive. Once he goes out, I just pray that he stays out. Like Corey, I got 2 boys. He fell out of the crib.
oh no.
Like I'm the baby dude over here, and I got my kid falling out of the crib. Like what the hell? He never stood up. One night he stood up, pulled himself out. Awesome. I had my hand on the door handle, ready to open the door, and I hear ba 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 ba, just this huge. I'm like, oh god, he fell. That's it. And
And he's probably fine,
he
right?
cried for 2 minutes and then was laughing. So it's just kids are bizarre. Being a parent's weird. Good job on your daughter's an adult and she's good, and that's the key. You get to spend time with your kids and teach them, and once they get to be older, then you become friends, and it's the best.
It really is. And Courtney was going to go to vet school.
Mm-hmm.
This is her last year. She's at LMU in Tennessee. And so this year is a travel year where they have to travel to different places and work for them and shadow. So right now she's doing operations, and then she gets on the road here in a few months, and then we're going to hook up in, I think, New Mexico, and I'm just going to put the motorhome there, set it up for her, and then I'll fly back here, take care of mom, and she'll be there for a month. And then I'll go back and get the motorhome and her and go on to the next place. But we're going to actually spend some of that same quality time, except for she's 30,
Right.
not 3.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm very proud of her. She did what I want to do. I wanted to be a veterinarian until I got in a race car, and that was out the window.
Right. A whole different beast is what
If I
that.
can do this, make money, and have fun, that's what you do with your life.
Absolutely. And clearly it fell to her because your love of dogs, animals, and all that stuff. Definitely this shows what parenting does, and like it's really, really something.
If she had to learn one thing, that is by far the only thing I wanted her to learn from me. Definitely.
Cool.
So I'm very excited, very proud dad. And, I got to see you grow up, and, your sister, and always knew at certain races you guys were going to be there. And, it's just, it's heartwarming because it's a good thing. You were this big when I met you, and all of a sudden it's like, Okay, everybody's taller than I am anyway, because I'm on the other side. I'm shrinking. But your dad's tall too.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot. He's right around there too. My sister's 5'10". So we got a little bit. I'm hoping my boys outgrow me for sure. But yeah, it was cool. Like I told my dad I was gonna sit down and do this with you, and he's like, "Oh my!" I actually asked him, Corey. I was like, "Hey, do you want to pop on at one point?" And he's like, "No, I don't do that stuff. I don't like. I can't do it. He just won't do
I figured for sure he was gonna be right there. And
I was hoping. Like I said, being in LA and him in Minnesota, I was trying to coordinate it just to get him to pop on for a minute and say hi. But
yeah, how are things down in LA where you are?
It's okay. I'm still working from home. I feel like the city of LA is so vaccinated and everyone follows the rules so well that it's starting to things are starting to feel normal. I went for a run over here in the mountains. I didn't bring a mask because now they say you don't need, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to worry about it. So I feel like it's starting to get back to normal. I took my son to the zoo. I mean, mask and all that stuff, but it's starting to come back to where it seems a little more normal.
Good. Yeah, I actually, a buddy of mine set me up on a blind date. So I've been able to go out and actually sit in a restaurant for sure. It's strange.
It is
different for us.
It is super weird. I took my wife out for her birthday last week and we went to a restaurant and did all that stuff. And it seems weird, but it seems oddly normal. But then it's all strange, man.
Yeah, I'm good with it now. I can wear a mask all day long. We did it at the races last year. It doesn't bother me as much. Bothers my mom more than anything else. She's 80, stubborn, won't get a shot. I'm like, I'm living proof, Mom. You need to do it eventually.
Yep, she got to do it for sure.
Yeah. Especially when they want to see those cards down the road.
Exactly. To get into sporting events, to get into Disneyland or whatever.
And she loves to gamble, so she's gonna get those.
Awesome. Hey, dude, out. Thank you again. Please subscribe. Have a good day.